Aloha, friends and family, and welcome back to the reading of Our Cosmic Origin, picking it up in chapter 11. The fall of Atlantis was the fall of man. During the days of Atlantis, our planet had two types of existing civilizations. These are perhaps the civilizations that our new science refers to as a population 1 planetary system and a population 2 stellar system space age cultures. For instance, back then, not only was our planet a full-fledged active member of the Galactic Federation of Free Worlds, but had developed a levitation-based transportation system that allowed citizens of Atlantis to travel to different parts of the world in minutes. This only implies that back then we had mastered interdimensional travel and electromagnetic hydraulic technology, which is the equivalent of a population of 2 space-age stellar civilizations. According to restored records, Atlantis was truly a golden age for the most part, well, at least its original intent and phase. Apparently, some fallen Anunnakis, angels that were not in alignment with Enki and Ninhursag, could have been secretly in favor of the Draconian, who were once again attempting to infiltrate the New Earth colonies from within, as Atlantis became their new Mars. All was fine until again the Draconian agenda leaked in. The place of this Draconian infiltration was in Atlantis during its second golden age, but what some may term renegade ETs, these renegade ETs became the fallen angels that apparently changed sides to serve the Draconian agenda to not only further corrupt the pure bloodline of Lord Michael, but to impose the Draconian Empire in our world. Originally and from its inception, Atlantis was in line with Lemuria, who was the mother continent in administrating things according to the celestial order of Melchizedek, which is the order of light. Therefore, all sister colonies favored Lemuria as the motherland, since Lemuria was a galactic Lyran-Syrian feminine community-based culture. The Lemurians' ideas were based on freedom, harmony, and spiritual community. Also, it is important to understand that the original founders of Atlantis ruled in favor of the Lemurian mother colony. That is, they practiced and lived under a perfect commonwealth, as did the Lemurians in the other sister continents. These coexisting cultures venerated the divine feminine in balance with the divine masculine. Although Atlantis started off as a spiritually oriented community, it gradually began shifting toward a scientific, technological, technocratic empire, as more and more beings from different star systems came to explore it. Eventually, as the balance was tilted towards technological development, the Atlanteans became like the Martian colony, and so began evolving one-sided. As mentioned, Atlantis was originally an idea and manifestation of the forces of light, and since Atlantis was an active population 2 stellar system civilization, there were stargates and dimensional portals that were active in those days, but secured by the Federation of Councils, so that the Draconians could not enter our solar system anymore. So what happened was that Marduk, one of Enki's sons, managed to seduce some of the Poehladian descending celestial humanoids within the lower ranks of the Federation into joining sides with him. It was these few renegade beings or fallen angels aligned with Marduk that became the key players in the infiltration and demise of Atlantis. Marduk was the son of Enki by another reptilian princess who believed that the descendants of the house of Alan should rule this planet. It is now obvious that Marduk was in favor of the draconian Aryan Empire, and as the son of Enki, was connected to the Nibirian Council while secretly favoring and working for his mother's line serving the galactic draconian empire. In the attempt to take over Atlantis, Marduk and his renegade allies first infiltrated the Atlantean ruling body. They applied the same reptilian tactics implemented earlier in Lyra when the reptilians infiltrated its ruling body. It was precisely this same tactic of infiltration that gave rise to the draconian agenda which became executed by the renegade Poehladians, who were in line with the few Dracon reptilians who controlled the reorganized Dark Brotherhood with Marduk as their leader. This took place 50,000 years ago in Atlantis. Eventually, after the infiltrators managed to separate the original ruling body, Atlantis fell under the control of the renegades under the leadership of Marduk, and everything in Atlantis changed. The ruling class was divided by those, the majority, who now wanted to change Atlantis into a totalitarian system of absolute control under the direction of Marduk, and the minority who remained loyal to the spiritual way of life. The priest-scientist that favored Marduk had converted to the dark side in pursuance of the new path of technology mixed with the corrupted spiritual knowledge that later developed into black magic and sorcery. This new and dangerous system was inspired by the technologically polarized faction who wanted to develop a technology of death in which they would use to establish absolute world domination. The bait Marduk used to achieve control was supreme nationalism. Marduk convinced a great number of Atlanteans that Atlantis would be a much better motherland than Lemuria if they allow for the new system or party to take control. As bait, he introduced advanced reptilian technology that was given to him by his fourth-dimensional reptilian uncles on his mother's side. Bear in mind that this was the beginning of the Dark Brotherhood in our ancient world that has, for the most part, ruled our world since then, as described in the Bible and other ancient accounts. The celestial humanoids who remain loyal to the democratic and spiritual form of government sought refuge and safety by going into the underground, creating a rebel resistance that would secretly oppose the new regime. These loyal stewards of democracy believed in the concept of the one God and understood that everything in the universe was connected as one living body. This was the underlying foundation that encompassed a perfect utopian commonwealth as the ancient order of Melchizedek protected it. The new dark powers denounced the order of Melchizedek and developed their own priesthoods based on the arts and practices of black magic. Some say that this new band of sorcerers and magicians is what ended up controlling the new Atlantis as Marduk's henchmen. So, in the aftermath, that the forces of Marduk took total control, everything began to decline for Atlantis. They put a stop on all education, including science. Only the servers and soldiers of Marduk were eligible for any sort of education and training. Only a small percentage of Atlanteans that willingly submitted to the new Atlantean Empire could live in a communistic system while those that resisted were killed and forced into slavery. At this point, Atlantis had ushered in the Dark Ages, and they were now getting in a position to execute their plans for global domination on the rest of the planet. But first, they needed a powerful weapon to do so, as they were endeavoring to rule with an iron fist. So, under the direction of Marduk, the elite sorcerers managed to develop a crystal technology that they used to harness a power so strong that it was able to move neighboring space objects close into the vicinity of our planet. Only a civilization of a Type 2 status is capable of such things. Apparently, Marduk's draconian uncles, or demons, managed to transmit the information for the creation of this technology of death into the mind of the elite sorcerers. At that time, our Earth had 2 moons, and what the Atlanteans did in an attempt to force their new power over everyone else on the planet is used a tractor beam generated by the crystal power source to move our other moon into proximity of Earth in order to threaten first the colony of Lemuria, who was the mother continent. Unfortunately, without any warning, the Atlanteans imploded the moon right over the Lemurian region and destroyed the entire continent in a terrible cataclysm. For the most part, a great number of beings perished as some of the Lemurians fled into the underground and others to other star systems, escaping the destruction, especially those that had operational light bodies. This took place roughly 25,000 years ago, according to the Akashic records, as Lemuria had become an example to the other continents that Atlantis meant business. Eventually, the other continents were next, as the Atlanteans were now getting ready to use this advanced tractor beam technology to destroy the other civilizations like the U colony in today's Asia region, the Rama colony in today's India region, and the Mayan colony in the Yucatan Mesoamerica region. The other advanced colonies were unmatchable against the new Atlanteans because they didn't possess the advanced draconian technology of death as the Atlanteans did. In fact, there were several attempts made by the other colonies to convince the Atlanteans in a diplomatic way to change back into the Lemurian form of government, a commonwealth, but it was useless. The Atlanteans demanded world domination, so the other colonies either had to submit or be destroyed like Lemuria. Despite any diplomatic compromise, the Atlanteans attempted to destroy the U colony next. Using their draconian technology of death, they harness a colossal-sized asteroid this time and brought it into the vicinity of Earth. However, just in the nick of time, Nibiru had arrived from its 3,600-year orbit and counteracted the attack, causing the colossal-sized asteroids to fall on Atlantis, instead resulting in its own demise. I bet the whole universe clapped when that happened. According to all esoteric records, this took place roughly about 12,000 years ago. It has been revealed by the Akashic records and the restored Nibirian Council that the plan for world domination by Atlantis was bigger than just taking control of our planet. The Atlanteans first wanted to regain absolute control of our planet so that in turn they may control our solar system and eventually seize control of the entire Pleiadian system to eventually and finally regain control of the entire galaxy again. It was a matter of step by step for Marduk to begin the process of executing control of our entire galaxy for the Draconian Empire However, that wasn't the case, for the forces of Marduk were stopped by the arrival of Nibiru, our biblical watcher. Now, according to another version known as mythology, Atlantis was originally established as a democracy whose rule was given to Poseidon, who, according to the Greeks, was the brother of Zeus. Again, this could be paralleling the story of the Anunnaki. Poseidon, in turn, had 5 pairs of sons who eventually divided up Atlantis into 10 districts. When the 10 kings set their aims toward world domination, they began by attacking the city-states of independent Greece. According to Plato, Zeus and the Council of Gods intervened and stopped this madness by destroying their continent and thus saving the rest of the world. This, of course, is a condensed version. For the record, let it be understood that Atlantis was intended to represent a perfect balance of polarity, integration, and fulfillment of the great cosmic divine plan. The idea was to maintain a spiritual lifestyle while creating a technologically advanced utopia. This unification would provide the grounds for polarity integration, the integration of the higher chakras and the lower chakras, thus ending the duality of light and dark by uniting spirit and matter in a process called ascension, and this concept is the authentic meaning of heaven on earth, the merging of all dimensions as one again. In the end, the Atlanteans became seduced by Marduk and his forces and eventually failed. As the saying goes, pride comes before a fall. And that is chapter 11, my friends. We'll pick it up at chapter 12 when we return. Earth history from the fall of Atlantis to the rise of a new era, 12,000 BC to 6,000 BC. And we leave you in the love and the light of the infinite Creator. Until then, my beautiful friends and family.